"I'm really sorry, Mr. Collins," said Eric Cook as he handed me an envelope. Inside was a report detailing my wife's dealings with her former boss, Adam Hawkins, along with photos and a DVD. I glanced at the pictures, but I hadn't yet watched the video. Part of me didn't want to, but I knew I had to face it. "How long has this been going on?" I asked. Eric checked his notes before answering. "Based on what we've gathered, it's been happening for at least 10, maybe 12 years. It seems to have started around the time your wife was up for a promotion. That would have been right when our daughter, Emma, was born." Another worry hit me: STDs. The report showed Adam had been involved with other married women. Even though my wife, Julia, and I had been intimate since her retirement, I started to question what kind of risks I had unknowingly faced. Scanning the report again, I frowned at the note from Eric's assistant, which said Julia appeared unaware of Adam's other affairs. "If it helps," Eric added, "Adam said he never wanted to destroy your marriage. He was only after something physical." "And nothing happened in my house?" I asked, desperate for some sense of control. "No, nothing at your home. I had my team install cameras as a precaution, but there was no activity there." "That's hardly comforting, Eric," I muttered, my distaste for Adam Hawkins only deepening as the pieces came together. "There's more, Mr. Collins," Eric continued. "Adam's sister, Evelyn, was aware of the affair and may have helped cover it up." I sighed deeply. Evelyn had always seemed decent, but now I felt betrayed. "Damn," I whispered. "Have you spoken to a lawyer yet?" Eric asked. "Not yet. I wanted the full truth first," I admitted. "Well, Jennifer Pratt is my go-to for these cases. She's top tier and despises cheaters. I can send her this report and let her know you'll be in touch." "That would help," I said, taking his card. "I'll call her office for an appointment. Can I give you some advice?" Eric asked. "Sure," I replied. "Let Jennifer handle it. I know it's hard, but don't do anything rash. This isn't some internet drama. This is your real life and you've got kids to think about." "I get it," I said, appreciating his counsel. After paying Eric, I left his office feeling like my entire marriage had been a lie. It hurt. He was right, though. I sat in my car for about 15 minutes, crying. Once I pulled myself together, I made an appointment with Jennifer Pratt for the next day. She needed financial documents, so I gathered what I could. On the way home, I bought a pack of cigarettes, a habit I'd kicked back in college, and then stopped by a bar to try and clear my head. "You all right?" the bartender asked as I lit up. "That obvious?" I replied. "Unfortunately, yeah," he said with a small smile. "Let me guess, found out your wife's been cheating?" "For 12 years, I confessed. "I've heard worse," he nodded. "My granddad used to say, I felt sorry for myself because I had no shoes, then I met a man who had no feet. It gets better. Handle your business, but drinking won't solve it." "He sounds wise," I said. "He was," the bartender agreed. "Finish your beer and head home. You won't find any answers at the bottom of that glass." I nodded, knowing he was right. As I sipped my drink, the unthinkable ran through my mind. Julia had been cheating on me for over a decade. Subtle signs that once seemed insignificant suddenly made sense. For example, after Emma, our second child, was born, I got a vasectomy, yet Julia remained on birth control. When I asked her why, she said it was to regulate her cycle, which I didn't question then. She started traveling more for work with Adam, and her wardrobe became more glamorous, almost too extravagant for simple business meetings. She always said it was part of entertaining clients, but now I knew what that really meant: entertaining Adam. I used to call her when she was away. She was always in her hotel room, but sometimes I thought I heard a man's voice in the background. Her own voice would crack occasionally, but I convinced myself I was imagining things. At times, I'd even catch a faint whiff of Adam's cologne on her clothes. It made me sick, but I brushed it off as a coincidence. Then there were the Fridays she continued working after retiring. She said her former company needed her expertise for one afternoon a week. Now I realized that those so-called skills involved more than just business. One afternoon turned into 2 or 3, and soon weekend trips became more frequent. All of this had happened over the last 4 months. Surprisingly, Julia's attitude toward me never changed. She remained affectionate, even caring. I had taken on more of the child-rearing duties because of her schedule, and when the burden became too much, I hired Eric's firm to investigate. That's when the truth was finally confirmed. Now I was faced with the impossible task of figuring out how to divide everything. If this had been some drunken mistake, maybe I could have forgiven her. But 12 years of betrayal? That was a conscious choice. Consequences had to follow. I finished my drink, nodded at the bartender, and left. When I got home, her car was in the garage, which was a surprise. After closing the garage door, I found Julia inside the house. She immediately noticed the cigarette and beer smell on me. "You've been smoking?" she said, concerned. "And drinking? What's going on?" "No, today's just been terrible," I admitted. "What happened?" she asked, her voice filled with worry. I couldn't help but wonder if it was genuine. "Something," I said vaguely. "I'll be in my office for the night. I'm not much company." "Can I help?" she offered. "Yeah," I thought. "Undo what you've done." But out loud I simply said, "I don't think so." "Oh, by the way," she added, "I'll be out of town this weekend, leaving Friday." It was only Tuesday and she was already planning another trip. "Again? Didn't you just go away?" I asked. "Yeah, but something came up," she explained. "Business, you know." "Sure," I replied sarcastically. "What about Emma's birthday party?" "I'm aware," Julia acknowledged, "but I can't avoid this trip. Could you explain to her why I won't be there?" "No," I refused. "You missed Eric's birthday last year, not to mention our anniversary. You can explain to our daughter why you'd rather be with Adam than celebrate her birthday here." "James, you're being unreasonable," she said. "No, Julia," I stated firmly. "You supposedly retired months ago after your company was sold, but you've been gone so often that I can't help but wonder what's really going on. Is there something you'd like to tell me?" "Are you accusing me of having an affair?" she asked defensively. "What would you think if the situation were reversed?" I questioned. She backed down a little at that. "I see your point," she conceded, "but believe me, it's just business." "So you said," I replied. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have things to take care of." "Don't interrupt me. You'll have to look after the kids tonight." I retreated into my home office, shutting and locking the door behind me. I heard Julia try to open it. "James," she called out, "please talk to me." "Leave me alone, Julia," I growled through gritted teeth. "I'm busy." I listened as she shuffled away, and I gathered the documents Jennifer said she would need. Then I turned to the evidence Eric had provided. Reading through the report was like trying to process a nightmare. This was the woman I had loved and supported for the last 12 years. I put on my headphones and started the DVD. Unless you've been in my shoes, you can't understand the storm of emotions that hit you when you see the woman you adored giving herself to another man willingly. I didn't care how Eric had obtained these videos. All I knew was that any love I'd once had for Julia was gone. As I watched her with Adam, I vowed never to touch her again. I forced myself to listen to their intimate conversations. "Hey, are we still on for this weekend?" Adam asked, holding her close. "Definitely," Julia grinned. "I can't go too long without you." "What about Emma's party?" he asked. "James will handle it," she assured him. "He's better with the kids anyway." "I worry he'll catch on," Adam said. "You're supposed to be retired." "I've told you I'm not giving us up," she affirmed. "Family's important, but so are we." "I hope you're right," Adam said. "What if he finds out?" "I'll deal with it," she said confidently. "It won't be easy," he warned. "I'll manage," she replied. "He hasn't caught on in 12 years. How long will this last?" "As long as possible," she declared. I shut off the video. I had seen and heard enough. Julia tapped on the office door. "What?" I said, my voice low. "The kids are going to bed. Can you at least say good night?" she asked. "Yeah, hold on," I said, shutting down my computer and heading upstairs. Despite the turmoil in my chest, I managed to smile as I tucked Emma in. "Are you okay, Daddy?" she asked, her little face worried. "Yeah, I'm fine. Go to sleep, sweetheart." "I love you," I said. "I love you too," she whispered, kissing my cheek. After leaving her room, I went downstairs to grab a coffee. Julia had kept dinner warm. "I'm not hungry," I said, heading to the patio and lighting a cigarette. Julia followed me outside, trying to kiss me. I turned my head, letting her kiss my cheek instead. "What's wrong?" she asked, concerned. "You haven't smoked since college." "We don't always get what we want," I said. "What do you mean?" she asked. I shook my head. "It's too late," I muttered. "Too late for what?" she pressed. "You're smart," I said. "Figure it out. Just leave me alone." "Maybe I can help," she offered. "Sorry for being abrupt," I said, softening my tone. "Work's getting to me. Maybe in a couple of days." I hated lying, but lying to a liar didn't seem so bad. "Okay," she said softly, her eyes filling with tears. She went inside and I finished 2 more cigarettes before following her in. After a shower to get rid of the smoke smell, I put on pajamas I rarely used and got into bed. Julia reached out to me but I pushed her away, a first in our marriage. James, she started, her voice breaking. I turned away. Good night, Julia, I muttered. She cried softly but I didn't care. The next morning I got ready for work and spent some time with the kids before leaving. I didn't even acknowledge Julia. She looked at me strangely. Don't I get a kiss anymore? She asked. Sorry, I said, blowing her a half-hearted kiss. I love you, she said. Yeah, me too, I replied, walking out the door. At the office the day was rough. I confided in my boss, who advised me to take some time off if I needed it. Later I met with Jennifer Pratt. Good afternoon, Mr. Collins, she greeted me warmly. We discussed my situation. I want as much as I can get, I said, especially custody. Mothers usually get custody, she cautioned. I've been the main caregiver for over a decade, I countered, and I'm the better parent. That's helpful, Jennifer said, nodding as she reviewed the financial data. Your wife received a significant sum from the company sale. Her dividends rival your salary, which works in our favor. So does that mean no alimony? I asked. Or very little, Jennifer confirmed. She's still young so she can work. If we secure custody for you, we might even get child support from her. What about the house? I questioned. If you get custody, you can stay in the house and she might have to pay half the mortgage. But if she gets custody, you might be on the hook for half the mortgage plus child support. Or we could sell the house and split the proceeds, I suggested. Yes, Jennifer nodded. And your retirement accounts and savings, those will be divided evenly, but you get to keep your 401k. What about Adam Hawkins? Can I sue him? I asked. Not in this state, but we'll mention him in the proceedings. You could try for emotional distress, but it might not go far, she said. And his sister, Evelyn? She knew about it, I added. We can file if you'd like, Jennifer confirmed. When can we file everything? I asked. We can have it done by Friday, she said. Any rush? I want her served late Saturday afternoon. She'll be away for the weekend with Adam, I revealed. Ah, shock and awe, Jennifer said with a nod. We can arrange that, but there's an extra fee for a Saturday process server. That's fine, go ahead, I instructed. All right, James, she said, concluding with a handshake. She reminded me not to act impulsively before taking my retainer check. Leaving her office, I felt a renewed sense of control. When I arrived home, Julia's car was already in the garage, which was odd for a Wednesday since she usually stayed late at the office. The smell of pot roast filled the air as I walked inside. Hey there, Julia greeted from the kitchen. You're home early. Everything okay? Yeah, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. I hope today's been better than yesterday, she said, a hint of concern in her voice. A bit. I'm managing, I responded, sitting down at the table. That's good. I made pot roast for dinner, she offered. Care for some? I'll have a plate, I agreed. It smells great. Did you go to the office today? I asked. Yeah, just for a few hours, she said, putting the roast on the table. I'm getting everything ready for the weekend. Did you talk to Emma? I questioned, watching her closely. Yeah, she's not thrilled, but she'll come around, Julia assured, trying to sound nonchalant. Where are the kids? I asked. In their rooms doing homework, she replied. You're still going on this trip with Adam? I probed. Yes, but it's strictly business, she insisted, as if repeating it would make it true. Just business, huh? I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. When do you plan to actually retire? I'm already retired. They just need my expertise from time to time, she said, evading the question. Can't say how long they'll need me. Seems like you might as well go back full-time, I remarked. You're practically there with all the hours you're putting in. What do you mean? She asked, puzzled by my tone. I mean, with all the time you spend working, it's like you're on their payroll again, I noted. Why do you say that? She asked defensively. I'm just making more money now with my retirement, she replied after a moment of silence. After I changed into something more comfortable, I returned to the kitchen and complimented her cooking. Julia had always been an exceptional cook and I knew I would miss that. After dinner, I spent some time with the kids before retreating to my office. I locked the door behind me. A few minutes later, Julia knocked. Are you planning to stay there tonight? She asked. Yeah, I still have a lot to do and I'm not feeling well, I replied. I'll sleep on the futon to avoid getting you sick before your trip. All right. Take care, James. I love you, she said, her voice soft through the door. Yeah, me too, I muttered, closing the door firmly behind me. I turned to my computer and finished some paperwork, setting a reminder to call Jennifer the next day for confirmation. Thursday passed much like Wednesday. Julia tried to seduce me that night, wearing a sheer nightgown, but knowing about her affair had stripped away any allure her body once held for me. "I'm sorry, Julia, but I feel a migraine coming on," I murmured. "I'll rest here in the office tonight." A tear slid down her cheek as she turned away, but I stayed indifferent. The next day she called me around noon to let me know she was leaving. "I hope you're feeling better, James," she said. "Maybe we can reconnect when I'm back on Monday." "Thanks for letting me know," I replied. "I love you, James," she insisted. "Sure," I responded flatly. "Have a safe trip." "Goodbye, Julia." After hanging up, I immediately called Jennifer. "I'm filing the paperwork now, James," she informed me. "It'll be served at 5:30 tomorrow at Adam's house, just as you requested. Evelyn will be served on Monday." "Thank you, Jennifer," I said, concluding the call. I locked up my office and prepared for the movers' arrival. I handed them a bag containing Julia's wedding dress alterations, along with a note, my wedding ring, and our torn marriage certificate. The bag was to be delivered to Julia at Adam's house the next day at 5:30 p.m., along with $250 in cash as tips. "I'll handle this personally, Mr. Collins," the young man assured me, taking the bag. "Thanks," I said. As I reheated leftover pot roast and ate in the living room while watching TV, I felt a sense of finality. That night, I slept soundly in the master bedroom. The next day, Julia's parents arrived with the kids. I had been preparing for Emma's birthday party in the backyard, which started around 3 p.m. Julia had ordered a cake, which I picked up earlier that morning and stored in the fridge. "You've been busy," remarked Mallory, Julia's mother, as she walked in. "I didn't have much of a choice," I replied. "I just hope everything goes smoothly." "The kids will have fun, don't worry," she reassured me. "Did Emma tell you Julia won't be here?" I asked. "Yes, she did," Mallory confirmed. "I can't believe Julia would miss her daughter's birthday." She gave me a curious look. "Is everything all right between you two?" I ushered the kids upstairs to prepare for the party before addressing Mallory and her husband, Max. "No, it's not," I admitted. "I hate to break it to you, but I'm divorcing Julia." "What?" Max exclaimed. "Why?" "She's been having an affair with her boss for 12 years, I revealed. "That's where she is now." "Oh my God," gasped Mallory. "Are you sure?" "I am," I said, explaining that I had hired an investigator. I offered to show them the report, but Mallory declined. "I'd like to see that report," Max interjected. "While you're doing that, I'll finish getting things ready for the party," Mallory decided. I thanked her and led Max to my office, handing him the report. He shook his head in disbelief as he read about Julia's involvement with Adam. "That idiot," he muttered, handing the report back to me. "Sorry, James. It's just hard to accept." "I understand," I sympathized. "What about Adam?" Max asked. "I've sued him and Evelyn for emotional distress," I explained. "Just a lawsuit?" Max scoffed. "After everything he's done?" "I get it, Max," I acknowledged, "but I can't risk jail time with 2 kids. "True," he conceded, "but Adam needs to pay for this. I won't let you get into trouble." "Don't worry," Max said with a grin. "I won't end up in jail." Max was tough and his plan was his own. "What's the plan?" I asked. "Better you don't know," he replied, clapping my shoulder. "Let's just enjoy the party with the kids." Outside, Mallory had set up everything for the birthday celebration. Emma was amazed by the decorations. "Thank you, Daddy," she said, hugging me. "This is wonderful. I wish Mom were here to see it." "I do too," I replied. "We'll take pictures so she can see them later, okay?" "Okay," she agreed. I fired up the grill and began cooking hamburgers and hot dogs for the kids. Around 4:30 p.m., the doorbell rang, signaling the start of the guests arriving. Over the next half hour, more than a dozen parents dropped off their children, all of them Emma's school friends. They were having a blast in the backyard. Among the last to arrive were Evelyn and her husband, Ryan, with their daughter, Denise. I welcomed them inside and directed Denise to the backyard to join the party. I offered Evelyn and Ryan something to drink, which they accepted graciously. "I'm surprised to see you here, Evelyn," I remarked. "I thought you and Ryan had a business trip this weekend." "That's Adam and Julia's responsibility," she clarified. "I'm just there to support them." "I see," I responded. "James, is everything okay?" Evelyn inquired, eyeing me cautiously. "Between you and Julia, I mean." "Why do you ask?" I countered. "You're not wearing your wedding ring," she pointed out. I glanced at my finger, noticing the indentation where the ring used to be. I gave it back to her, I explained. Maybe Adam will have better luck keeping her faithful than I did. What do you mean by that? Evelyn pressed. Let's not play games, Evelyn, I retorted. I know your brother's been involved with Julia for the past 12 years. You two did a great job deceiving me all this time. James, please, Julia still loves you, Evelyn pleaded. Yes, so much that she lied and betrayed me for over a decade, I said sarcastically. I can really feel the love right now. So what's your plan? Evelyn asked, her voice trembling. What do you think? I'm divorcing her. She and Adam will be served soon, I stated, checking my watch. Served? Evelyn questioned, wide-eyed. Yes, Julia will receive divorce papers and I'm suing Adam. You'll be served on Monday, I informed her. Me? Why are you suing me? I haven't done anything. Evelyn protested. Exactly, I said coldly. For over a decade you knew about their affair. My investigator even thinks you might have helped them. You pretended to be my friend, sitting in my house, enjoying my hospitality, all the while knowing what was going on. Now my marriage is ruined and my children have lost their mother, thanks to the three of you. I'll never be able to love or trust another woman again. James, I'm truly sorry, she said, her voice breaking. Sorry isn't enough, Evelyn, I asserted. For 12 years you three conspired to destroy my family. You didn't care about the impact on me or my kids. Well, now you've succeeded. It wasn't like that, Evelyn insisted. At first it was just business. It was Adam's idea. Julia went along with it because she wanted the job, but she wasn't happy about it. Things changed over time. And what about after you sold the company and supposedly retired? I asked. That was Julia's decision, Evelyn clarified. I thought it would end, but she chose to continue the affair. She made a terrible choice, I said, shaking my head, but you still played your part. I'm truly sorry, James, she repeated, wiping away a tear. None of us wanted to hurt you. But you did, I concluded, and in the worst possible way. It's best if you gather your family and leave, I added. Evelyn nodded. I understand, she whispered, walking away to fetch Denise and Ryan. And Evelyn, I called after her. She turned to face me. Don't ever come back. She wiped away another tear and left with her family. Meanwhile, Julia and Adam were lying undressed in his bed when her phone buzzed, signaling a new message. Assuming it was James sending pictures from Emma's party, she reached for her phone on the nightstand. Her face paled as she read the text from Evelyn. He knows everything. Oh no, Julia gasped. What's wrong? Adam inquired, propping himself up on one elbow. That was Evelyn, she replied, her voice trembling. James knows everything. I should get cleaned up and go home, she muttered, hurriedly throwing on a bathrobe and getting out of bed. Are you sure that's wise? Adam questioned, concerned. Yes, Julia affirmed. She was moving quickly, gathering her things. Just then the doorbell rang, startling them both. Who could that be? Adam wondered aloud as he threw on some clothes. Julia followed closely behind as he went downstairs to answer the door. Upon opening it, they were greeted by a man dressed in professional attire. Can I help you? Adam asked, trying to maintain a casual tone. Are you Adam Hawkins? The man asked. Yes, Adam replied cautiously. And is Julia Collins also present? The man continued. That's me, Julia interjected, stepping forward, her eyes wide with anxiety. I'll need to see some identification, the man requested. Why? Adam asked, retrieving his wallet from his back pocket. The man silently examined Adam's driver's license before handing him an envelope. You've been served, he declared, handing the documents to Adam. Turning to Julia, he requested her ID as well. With shaky hands, she fumbled for her wallet and handed over her license. After inspecting it, the man handed her a separate envelope. You've been served as well, Mrs. Collins, he added. Julia's face went pale as she held the papers in her hands. The door slowly closed behind the process server as she stared down at the envelope, her mind racing. Additionally, there's a restraining order included with these documents, the man concluded before walking away. You are both prohibited from approaching Mr. James Collins, his residence, his workplace, and his children, including their school, within a 500-foot radius. Failure to comply could result in an arrest. Good day. They were left stunned. Excuse me, is Julia Collins here? Another man dressed casually inquired. Yes, that's me, Julia confirmed, her voice barely steady. The man handed her a paper bag with an envelope attached. I was instructed to deliver this to you personally, ma'am. I also have several other boxes in the truck. Where would you like them? He asked. Adam and Julia exchanged bewildered glances before Adam responded, "Just leave them in the front room for now." "Thank you, sir." "Thank you, sir," the man acknowledged before heading back to his truck. A few moments later, several boxes were brought in and stacked neatly in the front room. As the movers worked, Julia opened the envelope. Inside she found a man's wedding ring, a note, and her marriage license torn into 4 pieces. Tears streamed down her face as she read the note. "Julia, throughout our marriage I have only loved and supported you. Imagine my shock upon discovering your affair with Adam Hawkins over the past 12 years. This is how you repay my love, with deceit and infidelity. All this time you claimed it was just business, but I now know it was much more than that. I hope it was worth it. I urge you to seek legal counsel promptly. Our finances have been divided for the divorce papers, and I have changed the locks on our doors. As I have been the primary caregiver for our children since your involvement with Adam began, I am seeking full custody. However, I am open to visitation arrangements. Please have your attorney contact mine to coordinate. Furthermore, since Adam has offered you shelter, I have sent your belongings to his residence. If there are any items you wish to retrieve from our home, please have your attorney arrange it with mine. I have no desire for further contact with you. Please refrain from reaching out to our children or me, or I will enforce the restraining order. I implore you not to contest the divorce terms. I do not wish to escalate matters for the sake of our children, but I will if necessary. I possess photographic evidence, videos, and a comprehensive investigative report documenting your activities. I have not yet disclosed the reason for our divorce to the children, but I will when the time is appropriate. Your parents are aware of the situation, though they have not seen the evidence. Please do what is right for once and bring an end to this charade of a marriage. As of now, Julia, you are dead to me. Goodbye. James. Overcome with emotion, Julia opened the paper bag and found the ashes of her wedding gown, the very dress she had worn when she married James. She collapsed to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Adam wrapped his arms around her and skimmed through the letter. "He's such an idiot," he muttered. "I'll give him a piece of my mind." "No, Adam, please don't," Julia begged. "I don't want you to end up in jail. This is my mess to clean up." "What else did you find out?" Adam asked, trying to calm her down. "He's suing me for emotional distress," Julia revealed. "He's demanding $5 million. I'll contact my lawyer and see what options we have," Adam said, already pulling out his phone. "I wonder if he's going after Evelyn too." "Let's check," Julia replied, wiping her tears as Adam began dialing. "After the birthday party wrapped up, I thanked everyone for coming and for the thoughtful gifts. The house was a mess, but I didn't mind." Emma approached me with tears in her eyes. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" I asked, pulling her into a hug. "I wish Mom could have been here," she sniffled. "I miss her." "Yeah, me too," I admitted softly. "But your mom had other plans." Emma looked up at me, her eyes full of sadness and curiosity. "Are you divorcing her?" she asked, her voice trembling. I didn't want to ruin her day, but I knew I couldn't dodge the conversation forever. "We'll talk about it later, okay? It's because of that Adam guy, isn't it?" Aaron chimed in, standing nearby. "What makes you say that?" I asked, surprised by his insight. "I've overheard Mom talking to him on the phone a few times," he explained. It was intriguing, but I decided not to press him further. "We'll talk more tomorrow. Today's Emma's birthday. Right now, I need your help cleaning up." "Okay, Dad," Aaron agreed. I hugged Emma once more and kissed her on the cheek. "Everything's going to be okay," I assured her, wiping away her tears. "I love you, Daddy," she whispered. "I love you too, sweetheart." Mallory and Max stayed behind to help clean up after the party. "Are you going to be all right, James?" Mallory asked as they prepared to leave. "I'll manage," I replied. "Thanks for helping out." "Of course," she said, hugging me. "If you need anything at all, just let us know." "I appreciate it," I said, shaking Max's hand. "Take care, son," Max added as they headed out the door. Once they left, I retreated upstairs. Exhausted, I fell asleep almost instantly. The next day, I woke up early and completed my usual Sunday chores. After making breakfast for the kids, Aaron helped me mow the lawn while I took care of the edges. Once we finished, we tidied up the yard and put the equipment away. After lunch, I was pleasantly surprised to find Emma making sandwiches for us. We sat down together, enjoying the quiet moment, but I could tell Emma had something on her mind. "All right, Dad," she began after we finished eating. "You need to tell us what's going on." I had dreaded this conversation, but I knew it was inevitable. I gathered the kids in the living room and sat down with them. There's no easy way to say this, so I'll just be straightforward, I began. I'm divorcing your mother. The news was met with silence from both Emma and Aaron. I had expected some sort of outburst, but they seemed to take it in stride. She's been cheating on you with that Adam guy, hasn't she? Aaron asked, breaking the quiet. Yeah, I admitted quietly. That's right. I figured, Aaron said, nodding. I bet it's been going on for a while, hasn't it? What makes you think that? I asked, curious. Just the way she talks to him, Aaron explained. I've overheard her on the phone. She talks to him the same way she talks to you, Dad. It hit me like a ton of bricks. Why hadn't I noticed it myself? The answer was simple. I had trusted her completely. I respected her privacy and had never felt the need to eavesdrop on her conversations. So, how long has it been going on, Dad? Emma asked, her voice soft. As far as I can tell, about 12 years, I replied. Emma gasped. That means she started right after I was born. Pretty much, I confirmed. Damn her, Emma muttered. Sorry, Dad, she added quickly, realizing what she had said. I understood her frustration, so I let it slide. It's okay. Can we stay with you? Emma asked. Absolutely. If that's what you want, I assured her. Me too, Dad, Aaron chimed in. You've always been there for us. Thank you, guys, I said, feeling overwhelmed by their support. I've already requested custody of both of you. They hugged me tightly, and I felt a surge of joy knowing my kids wanted to stay with me. After our emotional moment, we spent the rest of the day together, trying to move forward despite the sadness that lingered in the air. The following days passed without any major incidents. Mallory and Max continued to pick the kids up after school and stayed with them until I returned from work. I felt guilty for inconveniencing them, but they were understanding and more than willing to help. Mallory even made dinner for us, which was a huge relief. On Tuesday, I got a call from Jennifer. Julia has consulted with her own lawyer and wants to visit the children, she informed me. I hesitated. I'm not comfortable having her at the house. What if she tries to take off with them? We could temporarily suspend the restraining order for a designated period, Jennifer suggested. Maybe from 9 p.m. Friday to 9 a.m. Sunday. I know it's difficult, but appearing reasonable is crucial in court. I understand. What if she visits the kids at her parents' house on Saturday? I suggested. I can drop them off there on Friday after school and pick them up either Saturday night or Sunday. I'll propose that and see how her lawyer responds, Jennifer agreed. But under no circumstances should Adam or Evelyn be present. Agreed. There's also a chance the kids might not want to see her. They're not exactly happy with her right now. I'll make that clear as well, Jennifer said. Is there anything else? Yes. Her lawyer wants access to the full PI report. I've compiled a copy and sent it over, Jennifer informed me. She should receive it by Thursday at the latest. So, Julia's retained legal counsel? I confirmed. Yes, she hired Beth Sawyer on Monday, Jennifer said. It's surprising, since Beth despises cheaters, but she works in the same firm as Adam's lawyer. That's interesting, I mused. I'll keep you updated on any developments, Jennifer assured me. The next day, Jennifer informed me that Julia and her lawyer had agreed to my terms. The restraining order would be suspended for 36 hours from midnight Saturday to noon Sunday, and would only apply to Julia, not Adam or Evelyn. Julia would visit the kids at her parents' house and would not take them anywhere unless they were comfortable with it. Reluctantly, I accepted the terms, not wanting to seem unreasonable in front of the court. The kids were hesitant at first, but I convinced them to give it a chance. Max and Mallory agreed to pick them up after school on Friday and bring them back on Sunday afternoon. On Friday morning, I made sure the kids had everything they needed for the weekend. After hugging and kissing them, I dropped them off at school, reminding them to contact me if Adam, Evelyn, or their mother tried to approach them. Only after I saw them safely inside did I head to work. That evening, around 5:30, Max picked me up and we headed to Riverbend Tavern, a local sports bar downtown. We caught up over burgers and beers while watching a wrestling match on the screens. Julia showed up around 9 o'clock this morning, Max informed me between bites. It was tense at first, but things eased up eventually. The kids aren't thrilled with her, and they made it pretty clear. That's not surprising, I replied. She even came clean about the affair, Max added. That's unexpected, I remarked, raising an eyebrow. She claims she still loves you, Max continued. Seems like she might be aiming for reconciliation. Not a chance, I said firmly. After 12 years of deception, it's impossible to see past that. I get it, Max nodded. Did you really burn her wedding dress? That gown cost me over $2,000 when you two got married. It felt appropriate at the time, I admitted with a small shrug. She mentioned her lawyer thoroughly reviewed the PI report and gave her a stern talking to, Max said, taking a sip of his beer. I think she's starting to see your perspective. Suddenly there was a commotion behind me. Before I could react, something hard struck my head and I saw stars as I fell. I barely dodged a second blow aimed at me. I'm going to end you, you idiot. Adam's voice rang out. Seeing him looming over me, I reacted instinctively, recalling some self-defense lessons from my father. I landed a swift kick to Adam's groin as he advanced, sending him crumpling to the floor. Seizing the opportunity, I punched him in the face repeatedly. It wasn't a calculated attack, there was no finesse. It was raw fury, driven by the desire to hurt the man who had destroyed my marriage and family. Unaware that Adam had already lost consciousness, I continued to hit him until two pairs of hands pulled me away. The next thing I knew, I was in a hospital bed being examined by a doctor. My right hand was bandaged and my left arm was in a cast. A headache pounded behind my eyes. He'll be fine, the doctor assured Max, who stood nearby. He'll have a headache for a while, but there's no sign of a concussion. We'll give him some pain meds and let him rest before discharge. Thank you, doctor, Max replied. Then he turned to me. You'll pull through. Although you're hurting, Adam came out worse. He lost a testicle, some teeth, and nearly lost an eye. Apparently, you landed a solid punch to his jaw. That was him. I croaked, still dazed. Yeah. You've been here since last night. It's now 8:30 on Sunday morning, Max informed me. Oh, and there are a couple of officers outside who want to speak with you. Are you up for that? I might as well get it over with, I replied, wincing. Max signaled to the officers, who entered the room. I'm Sergeant Ruiz and this is Officer Graham, one introduced himself. We responded to the altercation at the Riverbend Tavern last night. How are you feeling? Like I've been hit upside the head, I said. Sergeant Ruiz smiled briefly. What happened last night? He asked. I don't have much to say, I replied. I was having a burger and beer with my father-in-law here, and then suddenly I got hit in the head. The guy threatened my life, so I defended myself. Ruiz nodded. That matches what the witnesses reported. The surveillance footage supports your account as well. Do you know the assailant? Yes, Sergeant. His name is Adam Hawkins. I have a lawsuit against him and he's part of my divorce proceedings. Divorce? The sergeant echoed, writing down notes. Yes, I confirmed. Got it, he jotted it down. I assume you want to press charges? Yes, absolutely, I asserted. There's also a restraining order against him. Understood, he acknowledged. We'll look into that and handle it from here, Mr. Collins. You may be approached for further questioning, so please refrain from leaving town for a while. No problem, Sergeant, I assured him. Ruiz smiled slightly before he and Officer Graham left the room. After they departed, Mallory, Julia, and the kids entered. Why is she here? I asked. I am Julia. My restraining order doesn't take effect until noon, she explained quietly. I assumed you'd be with your boyfriend, I remarked, not hiding my bitterness. She looked down, embarrassed. I wanted to see you first, she admitted. Besides, Evelyn's with him and he's still recovering. I nodded and turned to the kids. Emma's eyes were watery. Are you going to be okay, Daddy? She asked softly. I'll be fine, sweetheart, I reassured her. I heard you really gave it to Adam last night, Aaron, my son, said with a grin. That's the word on the street, I said, glancing at Max, but it's nothing to brag about, all right? You hear me? Got it, Dad, Aaron replied. Julia spoke up then. Are you going to be okay, James? He'll be fine, Emma quickly interjected. We'll take care of him, won't we, Aaron? Yeah, we got this, my son affirmed. Julia looked at our teenage children before asking, if you don't mind, I'd like to have a private chat with your father for a few minutes. They hesitated before agreeing. Sure, Emma said, but we'll be right outside. She motioned to Aaron and they left, followed by Max and Mallory. After they were gone, Julia sat down beside me. I can't express how sorry I am about everything, she began softly. Well, as I told Evelyn last week, sorry doesn't even scratch the surface, I said firmly. You deceived and betrayed me for 12 years, and now you think an apology will make it all better? Was I that inadequate as a husband? All I ever did was love and support you. You were the best husband and father anyone could ask for, she replied sadly. But that wasn't enough, was it? It's not that simple, James, she insisted. Then help me understand because I really want to know, I urged, leaning forward. At first it was just a way to secure my job, she confessed. Adam suggested that sleeping with him was a condition for getting the position. That's blackmail and workplace misconduct, I cut her off, raising my voice. That is illegal. Why didn't you come to me? We could have found a way out, we could have sued him. I was desperate, I needed that job so badly, she cried. I thought it was a small price to pay, even if it tore apart our family. And you made a deal with the devil, I scoffed. And now you're blaming him? No, she shook her head. I'm not blaming anyone but myself. I wanted that position so much. I thought I could have it all, get the career and keep the family. And you fell in love with him, didn't you? That's why you continued even after you supposedly retired. How much longer were you planning to hide this? She looked down at her hands. I didn't think it would last this long. But yes, I developed feelings for him. I hoped your love for me would allow me this weakness. I really tried to make sure it didn't affect our relationship in any way. Are you serious? I just couldn't believe my ears. Every single minute you spent with him was stolen from us. Do you even know what opportunity cost is? By choosing him, you rejected us every single time. She nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. You're right, she whispered. I failed. I turned out to be a terrible wife and mother. Your words, not mine, I shrugged. Once those thoughts are spinning in your head, that must be exactly what it is. Julia flinched but remained silent. By the way, for the record, I continued, I had DNA tests done. The kids are mine. She looked at me with genuine horror. My God, did you really think I was capable of that? You lied to me for 12 years, Julia, I reminded her. You betrayed me every single day. What else did you expect from me? The tears came with renewed force. I guess I deserve that, she muttered. Adam, by the way, was sleeping with other women too, I added. You weren't his only victory. I suspected as much, but I wasn't sure, she replied in a trembling voice. So what now? Sign the divorce papers, I said simply. Stop acting out this comedy called a marriage. And get yourself together for the kids' sake. Okay, she whispered, nodding. I'll sign everything. Forgive me, James. For everything. You already said that, I reminded her. I know, she admitted. But still, thank you for letting me spend time with the kids this weekend. You're welcome, I said quietly. I know you don't believe me, but I still love you, she insisted. I want so much for you to find it in your heart to forgive me and give us another chance. You're right, I said softly. I don't believe you. But thank you for the words. I suppose a part of me will always care for you too. But that's not enough. I need trust in a relationship, and after what you've done, I don't know if I'll ever be able to trust anyone again. She nodded silently, wiping the tears from her face. I understand, she murmured. Goodbye, James. She leaned in, kissed me on the cheek and left the room. Max, Mallory and the kids came right back inside. Everything okay, son? Max asked. Yes, I assured him. We talked. I think she finally realizes the scale of her mistakes. Does that mean you and Mom won't make up? Emma asked, a faint hope flickering in her eyes. I shook my head. No, sweetheart, I said gently. Love alone isn't always enough to save a marriage. Trust is just as important. And right now I don't trust her. Someday you'll understand. Later that night I received a frantic call from Max. James, it's Julia. Evelyn found her unconscious at Adam's place. She tried to overdose, sleeping pills and alcohol. There was a note on her nightstand that just said, I'm sorry. She's at the hospital now. My heart sank. Is she going to be okay? I asked, genuinely concerned despite everything. She's stable for now. They got to her in time, but she's going to need help. Mental health professionals are evaluating her. After she's discharged, she'll be staying with Mallory and me. Thank God they found her in time, I said, feeling a strange mix of relief and guilt. Part of me felt regret for the pain she was going through, but another part of me felt a small sense of vindication. Now, maybe she understood a fraction of what I had felt when I learned of her betrayal. Yeah, thank God, Max echoed. She's agreed to sign the divorce papers, no contest. Jennifer told me you'll be legally single in about 90 days. That's good to hear, I said quietly. James, Max added, his voice heavy. There's more. We're considering admitting Julia to a mental health facility. For how long? I asked, feeling the weight of the situation deepen. It's hard to say. The doctors think it could be for a few years, maybe longer. Mallory and I can't care for her full-time. We're just not up to it anymore. I sighed. Keep me updated on her condition. If there's anything we can do to help, let me know. Thanks, son, Max replied. We'll let you know. Over the next few months, Julia kept her promise. She signed the divorce papers without contesting, and I became legally single within 90 days. The settlement with Adam and Evelyn's lawyers was swift, and I ended up receiving about $3.5 million after legal fees. I set aside $1 million for each of the kids' college funds and saved the rest. During the summer, I planned a Mediterranean cruise for the kids and me. We needed time away to clear our minds, and the cruise seemed like the perfect way to start fresh. Adam didn't fare so well. The video evidence from the pub incident helped convict him of aggravated assault, battery, and attempted homicide. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison with eligibility for parole in about 8.5 years. Part of me hoped he'd serve every day of it. Julia, meanwhile, was released into Max and Mallory's care after her evaluation. She signed up for counseling and sought to understand her actions. She worked hard to rebuild her relationship with the kids, which I welcomed. I didn't want them to lose their mother, even if I couldn't be with her anymore. She also started writing for business blogs, staying out of the dating scene entirely. Sometimes I'd see Julia during visits to Max and Mallory's house. We'd chat briefly, but I couldn't ignore the hurt that still lingered from what she'd done. She expressed sadness when she found out about the cruise, but she managed to cope, wishing us well. The kids often sent her updates with photos from our travels. During the cruise, I met someone new, Greta, a charming woman from Alberta. She was younger than Julia, with shoulder-length blonde hair and a bubbly demeanor. I enjoyed how she ended her sentences with a signature of her Canadian roots. Greta had 2 kids of her own, close in age to mine, who were spending the summer with their grandparents in Idaho. We bonded over shared stories from our pasts, and occasionally we'd share more than just stories. Emma noticed and teased me about it. "Daddy's got a girlfriend," she sang, nudging me with a grin. We exchanged contact information at the end of the cruise and promised to keep in touch via email and Skype. Though I wasn't sure what the future held, we spoke at least twice a week, and I found myself thinking about her more often than I expected. Life without Julia became our new normal. My employer adjusted my schedule so I could handle the school runs, and I knew that soon Aaron would be old enough to start driving himself and his sister. Shortly after we returned from the cruise, Max stopped by with some unfortunate news. "They're planning to admit Julia to a mental health facility," he said, his voice heavy with concern. "Oh no," I said, feeling the familiar weight of worry. "What happened?" "Emma sent her a picture of you 3 having dinner with that Canadian woman you met on the cruise," Max explained. "I don't think Emma meant any harm, but Julia didn't take it well. She had a breakdown and Mallory and I found her in the bathtub. She'd cut her wrists." I felt a surge of shock and guilt. "Oh my God. Is she all right?" "Yeah, thankfully she survived, but the doctors say she needs constant care, and we're not able to provide that anymore. That's why they're recommending institutionalizing her." "For how long?" I asked, feeling the gravity of the situation settle in. "It could be a few years or it could be indefinite," Max admitted. "We just don't know." I nodded, absorbing the information. "Let me know if there's anything we can do to help." "Thanks, James," Max said, patting my shoulder. "I'll keep you updated." As time passed, Greta and I continued our long-distance relationship, and our bond grew stronger with every conversation. I found myself thinking about her more and more, even daydreaming about the life we might have together. She expressed sympathy about Julia's situation, primarily for the sake of the kids and for Max and Mallory. During one of our last conversations, Greta suggested visiting us with her kids or inviting us to her home, a 2-story log house nestled on 50 wooded acres north of Edmonton, Canada. I'd never been that far north before, but the idea intrigued me. Who knows what the future holds? In any case, that's a story for another time.